we're going to get going, everybody.
So start
Just stand for the pledge.
Frankfurt wants to nominate someone.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please, sir.
Mr. Arcuri?
Here.
Mr. Hova?
Here.
Mr. Brodsky? Mr. Coyne?
Present.
Mr. Julian?
Here.
Mr. Ford? Mr. Kane?
Here.
Mr. Karam?
Here.
Mr. Vitolo?
Here.
And Ms. Sisson? Here.
Thank you. You have in your packet the May 18, 2016 minutes. Is there a motion to approve? Make a motion. Is there a second? Any corrections, deletions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. The first item on our agenda is a resolution award of construction contract for fluoride feed system improvements at the WTP.
Water treatment plant. Under agenda item number 4, you have the agenda from the capital committee meeting that was held last Thursday, as well as a resolution authorizing the award of the construction contract. This is for some mostly mechanical concrete pipe work up at the plant on our fluoride feed system. This work is occurring within the plant: storage, piping, pumps, transfer facilities, controls, those kinds of items that are now 22 years old plus. And also included in the project is a significant amount of exterior work on our bulk chemical unloading station. We get a number of liquid chemicals, including the fluoride, alum, our fuel oil, and we're going to upgrade our exterior bulk chemical unloading, so if there should ever be a spill, the spill would be contained in a confined area and into an underground tank. So there's quite a bit of concrete structural work and asphalt work going on outside the plant. GHD engineers from Cazenovia prepared the contract documents. We did go out for bid, and we had 3 bidders. Daxco Pipeline Corp. from Leicester, New York, out in the southern tier, was the low bidder at $259,944. We also had 2 other bidders, Henderson Brothers Contracting, from just west of here, who we've done a lot of work with too, at $284,848, and LaFleur Contractors at $344,000. We've done a lot of work with Daxco in the past, and the staff did recommend to the capital committee that they recommended the award to the board, and the capital committee did reach a consensus to bring it to the full board. If it's awarded tonight, the work would be completed by January 31st, 2017.
Any questions for Dick regarding this? Someone care to move the motion as presented? Vince, a second? Greco? Thank you. Any further discussion, comments, concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Next item, resolution regarding water charges on county and city-owned commercial and residential properties. We're going to do that one.
Yeah, I'll do it if I can do it.
Yeah. Good evening. Actually, this resolution replaces 3 resolutions that we used to do on an annual basis with regards to water charges on county and city properties. And the purpose is that in past years, it's been found to keep properties on the tax roll. There might be a need to waive back due water charges. On an annual basis, unpaid bills are sent to the county where they're made they're placed as a lien on the property, and those charges either get, when the property is foreclosed upon or there's a tax sale, get wiped out. But then there are charges that accrue after we send in the water charges for levy, which sort of cause a problem because they don't show up as a lien, but in our system they're still current and due. So what we've done is rather than have the 3 separate resolutions which had different numbers and so on, we thought it would be worthwhile to change to one resolution that'll encompass all the properties involved, which will be commercial properties and then vacant land and then 1 to 4 residence properties, and give the executive, the director, the ability to determine whether or not to waive the charges which have occurred subsequent to the last filing of the lien. And so that's what you have before you. Basically, this, I think, resolution has been ongoing since just about the outset as part of the attempt to keep properties on the tax rolls. And the changes to it from the prior ones, again, combining them all, but also we've provided a portion in the resolution that the city, county, or agency will provide to us ahead of time the names of the persons purchasing the properties, because we don't want to have people who are notorious delinquents purchasing property and get a benefit of not having to pay past water charges. And then, again, which is similar to what was done in the commercial lien or the commercial resolution, we're authorizing the executive director or his designee, if he appoints someone to do that, to review requests from the county, city, or urban renewal agency, and then waive that amount or what they feel is appropriate. And then we are also providing that the executive director will report once a year on those properties for which the resolution has been utilized. And then rather than having to do this year in and year out, we're just going to make the resolution continuous until such time as there's a necessity for a change.
Any questions, or do you have anything to add on this, Pat?
No, I think Ken covered all the salient points very
Any
well.
questions for Ken on this?
I have one. Can you explain one more time you said that if a person was notorious for not paying the water bills, how that would impact the sale of the property?
It doesn't impact the sale. What it would do, though, and this was taken from the prior resolutions, is if there are persons who own property and are delinquent on other water bills, the determination was made that those persons should not be given the advantage of not having to pay a water charge on a property for which they are requiring pursuant to a sale. Now, the water charges, of course, are actually not necessarily the person who's purchasing, for their use, but for the use of the persons before. But the water charges do go with the property under the bylaws and the statute. So we're just not letting someone who might not pay further down the road, or who does owe us money and is delinquent, get the advantage of something which was to promote putting properties on the tax roll when they're not paying us the monies that we're owed. So this is delinquent amounts, not amounts that aren't due yet, but if they are basically showing up as someone who has a back balance on other properties, we don't believe they should get an advantage of that.
In which case, we simply wouldn't waive it.
Right,
city
the
still
seller
has
would
the right
go
to sell.
forward.
The seller would
Right.
go.
They just wouldn't get that benefit.
We just wouldn't waive that back water charge.
They'd have to pay those.
Right.
Anything else, Frank?
No, that's, thank you.
Vince?
Well, part of the resolution called for, or our resolution called for the city to provide the names of the individuals prior to the, but that's unenforceable. I mean, we can put it in our resolution, but it's the city that has to do it.
The resolution as a whole relates to this board's policy. Realistically, we can't bind the city or the county to do anything. We can just tell them, if you don't comply with our protocol, then we will not go ahead and consider waiving the charges.
Right. However, this is the result of actually meeting with the city and discussing this at length.
Well, I understand.
And so.
Yes, and they have done that.
They
They have
did
sent
indicate
us
that
up the
they'll provide
list.
that.
They have sent us a list with this latest round, and we did verify if there were things owed, and so we're trying to, they are trying to, and we are trying to meet these qualifications to give a discount. So,
Should have that.
Anything else, Vince?
No, that's it, thank you.
Anybody? Someone care to move the motion as presented? First and second. Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you. Committee reports. We just did capital. Anything, Scott, on finance?
Sure, in your packet, you should receive the financial statement for the first 6 months. Probably the takeaway is relatively consistent to last year. When we look at revenues, they're about 185,000 more than prior year, about 200K more than the budget. Consumption's down very little in comparisons to last year, so the increase that we had in fees is going to the revenue. Cash flow is almost exactly the same of what we brought in to what we take out. About 1.2 million's gone out in capital this year. It's related to the pipe bridge and some rehabs of the pump stations. So it kind of wraps up how we are. We did have the bonding, so trust funds are up a little bit. But besides that, relatively consistent to last year.
Any questions regarding the financials? And I see we have a calendar started for budget season.
Yes, the budget season has begun.
As of this afternoon,
Yes,
packets have gone on to the departments. And the goal here was to make sure that the board has a full 2 months to be able to meet with us through workshops and deliberate on the budget before we have the rate hearing in October. And so this will require departments to have their first cut of their requests back to us by August 15th. The following week, we'll provide for meetings between Jim Corfana and Scott and I with the various departments to review their budgets, and then a draft budget will be coming to the board shortly after that. And so the board will have the last week or so of August and all of September and October to review it before voting on it. So we just want to make sure that the board has ample time to be involved in the process and not only review it, but ask questions and allow for us to have time to develop answers for you.
Great. Any questions? Thank you. Pat, your report.
All right, we'll cross the budget calendar up this report here.
Oh, I jumped the gun on that one, sorry.
Gotta have it in, that's okay.
I thought it was finance.
No, that makes good sense. Earlier this summer, there was a lot of discussion and public awareness of low reservoir levels up at Hinckley because a lot of water got let out early on and there wasn't a lot of snowpack. We are now happy to report that with the rain over the last 2 weeks, the reservoir is now about a foot higher than its normal elevation for this time of year. So we went from 12 feet below normal to about a foot above. It's currently about not quite 3.5 feet from the top of the dam. And so that's good news. We're right back to normal operating conditions up there. I'm sure the folks that live up there are pretty happy about that. For Dick and I, it means our weekly phone calls with all the core agencies, which is the Power Authority and the Canal Corporation, at this point are discontinued. There is a trigger with elevation levels based on a date that requires us to meet and talk every week. And we've been doing that for the past 6 or 7 weeks or so. And now we can dispense with that. So it's good news. The Mohawk Valley region is not in any kind of a drought area or a drought warning. We're one of the few places in the state that isn't, but that rain was pretty helpful, so I just thought I'd let you know. The automated meter reading conversion that we're doing with the radio reading modems, AMI as we call it, Advanced Metering Infrastructure, is proceeding, but we want to accelerate it and try to have it done before we get into the heavy snow this winter, because it makes it a lot more difficult when the folks are going up to the side of the house and swapping out that touchpad for that modem. We're over 28,000 units installed at this point. We did some internal calculations and we determined that we have a surplus in the capital account that was created to fund this project because, as you may know, you can't actually solicit proposals for it without having the money. So we had to borrow the money first, put the RFP or the RFP out afterwards. So the amount we borrowed was based on preliminary estimates from all the metering companies we've been talking to, And it turned out that in the course of awarding it, there was quite a bit of competition driving the price down. So we expect that that account will have a considerable surplus when it's done. But what we're going to do internally is get 5 temporary installers for the next 90 days to help with the conversion of the modems on the outside, just to speed it up. And then after 90 days, we think we may go perhaps another 90 days with some temporaries. We think within 6 months we can be at about 98% conversion. That will allow our guys to actually work inside where the ones need to be changed meters, not have to worry about the outside simple connections. But the goal is to have this thing as nearly complete as possible heading into this winter. What that means, however, is that we may be in a position where if the board wants to try any kind of a pilot program in monthly billing, we'll be in a position to do that as well. So what we're going to do in conjunction with this budget timetable and the rate hearing is just go through and look at the existing rate schedule we have. We have a quarterly schedule, we have also a monthly schedule that we use for commercial accounts. We just want to make sure that if we were to use the monthly rate schedule on the commercial accounts, that it'll translate properly into residentials. But if we decide we want to, in the course of next calendar year / fiscal year, try any kind of experiment with certain areas on monthly billing, then we want to make sure that we've addressed it properly in a rate hearing and we've authorized that kind of a rate schedule to apply to residences as well. So just another option that we're going to have available in case we want to go down that route. We do think it might be desirable to do that. We just have to look at postage and things like that to make sure that we're not going to incur too much cost if we want to switch to a system like that. But these are things we'll talk about down in the future. We just want to make sure those options are available for the board to look at and maybe experiment with at least in the coming year. Next item I wanted to mention is that the bonding that we are undertaking, you may recall we kicked off a borrowing that's going to pay for the Pipe Bridge project that we just talked about, and also some other miscellaneous projects. That's well underway. It's a pretty aggressive timetable. We think we're going to have draft documents together over the next 2 weeks, and we'll be seeking rating agency conference calls probably the last week of July and have the bonds actually rated in the first week of August, and perhaps close as early as the second week of August. We would actually have our money, and then we can start to move forward with some of these capital projects, and at the same time complete the refinancing of some of our 2006 bonds. And that will cause some drop in our annual debt payments as the debt payment schedule gets reshuffled through the refinancing. Last thing I want to mention is that if you're not familiar with it, there's something called the REDC, which is the Regional Economic Development Councils that the governor has set up in clusters of 6 counties around the state. And so every year they're awarding money to those this region. In the past, it's gotten anywhere between $55 to $60 million or more. And so they've told us over the years that the money's not really for infrastructure, it's really for economic development. But we will be putting in an application for this year's round of funding. The application is the last Friday in July, in 2 weeks. Dick and I had a conversation earlier today with a firm that's going to spend a few hours helping us to put it together. They have some experience in doing that in the past. It's O'Brien Gear Engineering. But we feel that the next leg of our raw water line project, going from the plant to the reservoir, really is being done to increase the capacity and size of those lines in order to be able to draw additional amounts of water, and that's really to supply the Nano Center site. And so we think that a project like this really does directly underwrite development and thousands of jobs should those another plant decide to come and relocate to this site. And so we think it's a completely eligible project, and one that the state should have a strong interest in seeing move forward. So we will be putting in an application for the first time for the Regional Economic Development money. And we'll let you know if that application goes in. And I think that's all I had for now, unless anybody has any questions for me.
Yeah, the meter installation.
Yes.
Do you plan on hiring them people now?
Well, we've ordered the equipment. We need 5 devices for them to use. We'll be leasing the vans. We already got pricing on that. And then once we have all the equipment in place, then we'll be screening for temporary employees to bring on board.
Are they going to ride with the
Well, they'll be trained at first, they'll shadow someone at first just for the training, and then they'll be going out on their own. But we're not gonna have them going inside any houses.
Yeah.
They'll simply be taking the touchpad off the outside, reconnecting the wires to the modem and putting it back on. If it doesn't work, if there's no connection downstairs or anything like that, it just becomes a work order for one of our own folks to come back and go downstairs inside the house. Yeah. But we think that that'll speed it up quite a bit. We're looking for some pretty good production numbers now. Yep. Any other questions?
Thanks, Pat.
Thank you.
Any old business?
I don't know if it's old or new, but I had proposed earlier that we set up a visit to the treatment plant. And, but the other day at our meeting, Dick Goodney showed some great graphics of, you know, the reservoir, where the pipes flow, the pipe bridges, the power plants, how the water flows down through there. I think it would be informative just to have a presentation to the board for people who may not be aware of how many power plants there are, how many holding basins there are, what we're talking about in terms of where the intake is, where the new pipe might go, where the new bridges are going to be. It wouldn't take long, and I think it would be very informative to most of the board members.
Right. Anything else, Vince?
Sounds good.
No,
We'll just have one or two security issues of concern for that as far as televising, but I'm
okay,
sure we
well,
can work
we
around
can
that.
do it in a...
I'm sure we can work around that.
Closed meeting, yeah.
Can we, at one point you talked about people seeing it in person.
Yeah, we'd love to have you come up there.
You can come up, you can go up whenever you'd like. If you want that, no.
We can give tours for individual board members or do it as a group. Anyone that's interested, we'll just work with Suzanne to get.
Can my wife go, or no?
Pardon me?
Can my wife come with me or not?
Sure. So if you're interested, let Suzanne know, and if we have several members, then maybe we can coordinate it and do a group tour. And if not, we'll take individuals.
I think I
Happy to have
talked to the
anybody come.
gentleman back there. Didn't I talk to
Phil likes having
Yes,
company.
Phil.
I think I did.
Just bring Phil some cookies and he'll be happy to sit
Get you right in the front door.
Any new business?
I can give you his number, direct number.
Sure, yeah.
We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.